Hi, I'm Kyle, a tired therapist.
And I'm Jackie, also a tired therapist.
And together, we are
Two tired therapists.
Welcome to the pod. Hello.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, Jackie, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Better than ever.
Well,
That's what they say.
that's what they say.
I don't know if that's true.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Right.
We'll find out. But it is a momentous day.
Yes, it is.
Because first of all, hi gay. Happy Pride.
Yes, happy
It's
Pride.
Pride Month, everybody.
Yes.
It's the month we take
Yes,
over.
queen.
Yes, queen.
I just
Yes,
gotta do that.
it's here we
Yes,
are.
queen.
But do you know what else it is?
What is it?
It is also the 1 year anniversary of Two Tired Therapists.
Is it really?
On the day
Oh.
we recorded, well, we didn't record, but we published our first
Sure.
episode
Aw.
1 year ago.
1 year.
Can you believe?
No, I can't.
I know. What a long year it's been.
It's been it's only been 1 year. Oh wow.
1 year, yeah, to the date, June 13th.
Wow.
When this is coming out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
and
Love
here
it.
we are.
Well,
Still going strong.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, happy Pride.
Yes.
We here at Two Tired Therapists do support the LGBTQ plus community, or as I learned from TikTok, believe it or not, we now call it the LGBTQIA community.
I like that better in
yeah,
some ways.
I do too. Right, the LGBTQIA community.
Do you ever find joy in asking like people who are older what it all stands for? You ever see like clips of that? Oh my god, it's so funny.
They struggle.
Yeah, like
And-
once you get to like I forget, it's around like T is where we can't do that anymore.
Right. We barely know the B. We barely know the B.
Right.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's and you know what? In their defense, back in the day,
Sure.
we didn't know.
Talked about
Nobody
that.
talked about that. You were gay, you were lesbian,
Right.
or you were a drag queen.
Right.
That was it. That's all
Yes,
they had.
that's all. Yeah, that's all they had back then.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we're glad to be back. People missed us. I had people
That's what I've
going,
heard.
it's Too Tired Tuesday. Where you at? Because famously, we do miss Too Tired Tuesday sometimes.
It has happened.
It has happened.
Only on a few occasions. one of us or producer Justin forgets about,
right.
We have to do something.
Even though we haven't, some of us have in our calendar. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay.
So people were concerned in the month of May. They were like, "What's going on?" I said,
No,
"Look,
it's okay.
we need a sabbatical. We work very hard,
We're so hard.
and we need a break.
We put so much time and
We
effort
put
into
so
this.
much time and effort into
You don't
this.
even know.
Yeah.
We're researching. We're not using Wikipedia. We're actually
No.
going for books.
Right. We're not planning episodes the night before.
No, that never
No.
happens.
No.
That's never happened.
That doesn't happen.
How
here.
dare you?
This is a professional podcast. Excuse
We're so
me.
professional.
We're international. You don't know.
Yes,
you don't
we
know
are.
about us.
We have established that before. We are international.
You don't know about us.
Hello to the international listeners.
Hello. So, Jackie, do you want to go first? What's tired, or would you like me to go first?
Oh, I can go first.
Oh, please.
But I feel like you'll agree.
Oh, well.
Because part of what I'm tired of is something that you were also part of.
Well, oh.
Not in the,
That's scary.
Not in the too recent past. No, it's not you. It's, I'm really tired of kids in nice restaurants just running around. Should we story time for a memento?
Please.
So,
I know exactly what you're about to talk about.
I was like, it wasn't that.
Yep.
It wasn't too long ago.
Yep.
Recently, I don't remember exactly how long it's been, to be totally honest. Maybe a couple months at the most. Kyle and I and producer Justin went out to dinner with our good friend Claire. She's on the podcast.
Yes.
Listen to her episode if you care to do that. And we went to a kind of like a nicer restaurant. I would call it, it wasn't like fancy, but it was like nicer. It was.
Right.
It also happened to be prom that day, which we didn't
Yes.
realize until we got there.
Right.
That wasn't the issue, but we got sat at this kind of, those the booths that are like kind of like a long U.
It's like a half,
like a half circle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got sat there, and then we were just enjoying our time. We were doing our kiki, and then this table sat down of parents, and then they sat their kids down next to them, but like not directly next to them, like the kids
across
were,
a half wall.
Yeah, the kids were like facing us. And there was no parents sitting with them.
No.
They were probably, I would guess, under about 10 years old.
Yeah, probably between the ages of like 4 and 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they just acted like
fools.
Yeah. You're putting it very nicely. I was going to say a different word. Terrorist was the word I was going to say. They just were all over the place.
They were
running around. One of the parents would come by and yell at them for like a minute,
right.
and then they'd walk off.
Right.
And it was.
The table was moving into the
yes,
to the walkway, and someone kept coming by and moving it back.
Our poor waitress looked like she was gonna pull out her hair.
Yeah.
I felt very bad for her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I feel like if you're gonna go to a restaurant like that, I don't know. Don't bring your kid or sit at the table with them. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't have kids, but I don't know. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't put them by themselves at a different table.
Well, I wouldn't want to deal with that. Like, I'm trying to go out with my adult friends, and I have to make sure these little hellions aren't.
Yeah, they were
destroying the place, and they were.
They were. And it was crowded. I mean, it was packed. It wasn't like there was. It was a busy night. So I felt really bad for our waitress.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, leave those kids at home, you know.
Go out and enjoy a night.
Yeah.
I mean, get a babysitter. I don't know.
They're fine. They're fine. Put a bunch of snacks in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Lock them into a room.
Yeah.
It's fine. Take away the phones. Take away everything. Take away the matches. Mm-hmm. You'll be fine.
Right.
You'll come back. They'll all be alive.
Give them a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Just a little whiskey.
They'll be asleep before you know it.
Right. That's how you take care of your kids.
That's how you take care of your
Easy.
kids. We would like to remind everybody that we here at Two Tired Therapists do not have kids.
We don't have children.
You probably shouldn't take parenting advice from us.
No, please don't.
Please don't.
Anyways, despite that, Kyle, what are you tired of?
Well, because it is Pride Month, and I love a good theme.
You do.
I wanted to stay themed in that the young gays, the young LGBTQIA community,
right?
We got to stop telling the old gays what to do.
Oh. Right.
So do you know this phenomenon?
No, but I'm wondering what you're considering young, and then what's your old cutoff?
Well, that's we can talk about that another time, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling really attacked all of a sudden, for some reason. No, I just mean like these young teenagers, teenagers being like, we should use the word like queer, where some of the older gays are like, no, like that was a bad word, like we don't.
Okay. Wait, I might have to ask you a question after this.
Please.
Keep going.
But I think these and I'm probably gonna get canceled for this. Sorry, but it's different. Like it's generational, right? Like older, and I'm talking maybe like 60 plus or even like 50 plus, where it's like things were different. It was a whole different time, and it's what, if you guys want to use that word, cool, go for it. But like some people I've seen on like the internet where they're like getting in fights where they're like, well, you just need to accept that we're using this word. And maybe queer is not the right one. I can't think of the actual example, but these young children telling these older gays who have been through a lot, like, well,
paved the way for them, yes.
This is how you need to be gay.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's not just gay; it's all of it. But
right,
like,
but it's
we
not
don't
good look.
We don't do that. We let people live their life. What's your question?
So this is something that happened in real life that I still to this day have never. I still don't understand. Well, I understand it, but I also don't understand it. So I was talking to someone who, and I won't say who. I'll tell you off air who it is because you know this person.
Oh.
But I was talking to somebody, and they were saying how you should never, a straight or a heterosexual or a non-gay person should never use the word queer because it's extremely disrespectful. And I was like, okay. I mean, and I don't, it's not a word I use to describe people. Like, I would never be like, Kyle's a queer. Like, but like, I don't know. It's not, I don't ever use that word, but I didn't think it was disrespectful. I like the F word.
But I think that's my point, is that the younger kids are saying like the word queer. They are saying identify as queer. And some of the older generation are like that was our like fag. Like,
yeah.
You didn't, like, people yelled that at us out the window. And I'm not saying I'm
only laughing because I think it's such a, like, it's not, I think of queer as meaning like inclusive, like of everyone.
Sure.
I don't think it means like,
well, and I think it goes both ways, really. So I don't cancel me, but like, I would never, like, if a Gen Zer was like, I'm a queer, I'd be like, cool, great. That's great for you. I love that journey for you. I would never in a billion years call myself that.
Sure.
So I don't want them to say anything to me.
Right.
About it. So I think it's just like, let people just let them do what they want.
People are really weird about that.
They are really weird.
We like
about
to police everything.
Well, especially in the LGBTQIA community.
Yeah, I know. I was watching a clip of it was a trans woman who's a doctor or a pharmacist testify in front of Congress, and the senator was like, "What's your genitalia?" Just straight up, and she was like. that's a really inappropriate question. And they're like, well, you can be done. She's like, well, I'm not done, but I'm not going to answer that question. And and the senator was like, yeah, well, you just brought that up because you said you were trans. And she was like, you just asked me if I was.
Oh my god.
They were like, you identify as trans.
And let
she
me
was
guess.
Like, yes, I'm a trans
let
woman.
me guess. He was white, straight,
sure,
cis man.
Yeah, I don't know
Let
who
me
it
just
was.
guess.
It looked like an older clip. When I say older, I mean like maybe early 2010s. It looked like it was at least like a 10-year-old clip, maybe. I don't know. I didn't click on the whole thing to read it, but it was. I was like, oh my. She was like, that's so inappropriate. Like you don't
That is
ask me
so
that.
inappropriate.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like that.
Do you have a penisy or a vagina? That is awful.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who really cares?
No, it's not that big of a deal.
For the record, I would like to just, in my tiredness, say that I don't consider myself an old gay. I would just like to put that out there, in case anyone's wondering, because I am in my late 20s.
You did.
Some
you
would
did
say
tell
early
me
30s, but
some
I would
some
say
would
late
say
20s.
that. Not many.
Not many.
You did tell me one time that. Did you go on a date and you were like the person called you old or said you were old and you were so
Probably.
you were a little devastated. You were
Probably.
like, am I dead?
Mhm.
I'm dead.
Probably.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I've been on a couple dates with some Gen Zers, and they're awful. I'm so sorry, Gen Z, but you are just awful people.
I don't know that I know any Gen Zers, to be honest. What's the age range for Gen Zers? What's the born years? Do we know?
That's a
It's
great
probably
question.
like 2000. I bet it's somewhere in the 2000s.
Let's consult.
I was gonna say Google University.
Google. Great, not helpful.
Generation Z was born in the late 1990s and early 2000s.
1995 to 2010. And evidently they're also known as iGen, like an iPhone, like iGen, which I hate. I hate that.
Hate that.
And Centennials,
That's
which makes it sound like they're trying to be millennials.
yeah.
Yeah, get out.
95,
Sorry.
95 to. That's not. No, you're. We're not too far
Look,
off from that.
I'm just saying that's what it says.
I'm a young 22.
I'm a youthful. Yeah, it says Gen Z 95 to 2012. But see, this says millennials were 81 to 96.
People don't.
It goes
people
back.
people
It goes
do not
back.
agree with that. People think millennials are like 88 to whatever, and I'm like, no, I think it goes all the way down.
Yeah, 81.
Anyways, we're getting so off topic.
We're
this
so off
episode.
topic,
Hope
and
you
we
guys
don't
enjoy
do that.
it.
Yeah, we don't do that. We usually are very professional and stay on topic. So
Well,
we're so sorry.
this is a you episode.
I don't know if you're ready.
I'm sure I am.
We decided to continue our serial killer
Sure. Yes.
theme. We've only done a couple, so we thought it's been
Yeah.
a while. So,
If people have suggestions,
oh yeah,
please
we would
let
love
us
to.
know
Yeah,
on
we would love
social
to.
media and or DM us or email
Please.
us.
Because we don't want to be that pod. We've talked about it. We don't want to be the murder
I don't want to.
pod.
Yeah, I don't want to get into true crime.
But we do like to get into the psychology.
Sure.
But girl, did I get into it?
Girl.
I mean, I like to think that I am a pretty rotten person.
Mm-hmm,
and,
I would agree.
And pretty, thank you, desensitized to a lot of things.
Sure.
This research
Uh-oh.
fucked me up. Yeah.
And tell us on whom is it?
So we today will be talking about Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
AKA the Valley Intruder. AKA the Walk-In Killer. AKA and truly known as the Night Stalker.
I did. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Night Stalker.
There is.
I watched it.
Yes.
I highly recommend it.
I did watch it in preparation.
Oh, okay. I highly recommend it. Our friend Amanda, you know Amanda, she recommended it to me a long time ago, and I watched it, and I was captivated.
Yes,
so, yes
some light spoilers for that. Yes, The Night Stalker: The Hunt for a Serial Killer.
Yes,
is the Netflix documentary.
Yes,
I will say it's more from the perspective of like the investigation.
Yes, it is.
They didn't dive too much into him.
No,
but don't worry, I did.
I'm sure that was an interesting ride. It's
gruesome. So
he's
like,
an interesting
trigger warning, like all of it for any of you out there, because I'm not. And again, like we've done with the other ones, I'm not going to get into the murders because one, they were gross, but it's more. We will talk some about the murders and the investigations, and then we'll talk childhood. We love a good childhood.
Yes.
And then some psychology of how maybe this happened.
Sure.
So
I'm ready for it.
So here's a little overview of Mr. Ramirez. So he was a serial killer and a sex offender who killed several individuals on a nearly 170-day spree between 1984 and 1985 in the LA area, as well as some San Francisco, so in the Cali area. So his MO, he would just walk into a house or get in through an unlocked window because it was the 80s.
Yeah, we don't lock stuff
And
back then.
for some of you Gen Zers, we didn't used to lock the door. Now, I remember this as a kid. We didn't lock our doors.
Oh, we did, but we lived in the
suburbs. You live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I lived in Podunk in block that out.
Kentucky, Ohio.
Podunk, Midwest, where we didn't have to. We didn't. I remember when we started locking our doors because there were break-ins and stuff happening.
Yeah.
So this was back in the day. Even in a big area like LA, people didn't lock their doors.
Yeah, because
like,
they were close to LA, but they were like in the burbish
they
area.
They were in different burb areas.
He was all over the place. Yeah.
He was all over the place. So yeah, it was the 80s. People didn't really lock their doors. He did crimes of burglary, assault, substance use. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the substance use. His murders were very violent and gruesome. So he used weapons such as handguns, knives, machetes, tire irons, claws, strangulation, handcuffs, thumb cuffs, and many other
He also
weapons.
Used his foot on one of the murders.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Okay, great. I remember that from the documentary.
He would torture some of his victims before he would kill them.
Yeah.
Some he left alive. Some he just killed outright. And many were sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
So he was all over the place. There were also strong ties to Satanism. And so this is more corroborated than our dear friend Jeffrey Dahmer, who it was kind of like a passing thing.
Yeah.
This was far more, I guess, organized Satanism, I guess. Sure. There's believed to be many other crimes that he committed, though they have not been able to connect him to those. And we'll kind of talk about that in a second.
I have a question. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
please. Is he still alive?
He is not. He is not.
That's right.
No, he has experienced death. He has.
Probably for the best.
Probably for the best. Although it's kind of fucked up, so we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Don't you worry. So let's get into it. Let's just start. So the first known murder that he ever did was June 28th, 1984.
Oh, my.
So this is why they think he's done more, because the big spree of murders he did really didn't start till 1985. So there was they found this June 28th murder, and then this big spree didn't happen until later into the year of 1985. So they think there's no way, and you'll understand why, that he went from having this big chunk where he didn't do anything to murdering all these people. Again, his MO was he would break into homes and steal things, typically, because he was addicted. He had some substance use. We'll talk about that later. But he would either do this sometimes before or after killing and sexually assaulting his victims. So it wasn't like he broke in and was
to actually burgle.
Right.
It's sort of like, I'm here, why not?
Why not?
I just killed somebody.
What's going on? Right. What's the vibe right now?
Precious.
And what's even more, I think, I don't even know if I would say weird, but just like unsettling, is he would chill. He would chill in the homes. He would hang out.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just like pop in, steal some things, leave, or like pop in, do a little rape and leave. Like, he would make a little snack. He'd kind of hang out. In some places, especially later on, he would do very grotesque things. We'll talk about a little bit later.
Oh my.
One of the grossest things is in one home, he broke in, stole some things. I think he like raped somebody, killed somebody, did all this stuff, and then he made a little snack, made a little sandwich, had a little Mountain Dew.
As one does, yeah.
And then decided he was bulimic, threw it up on the floor because why not? And then had a nice little wanky wank in the living room.
Sure,
just
as one does.
Wanked on the and then decided to draw some satanic symbols.
That's yeah. There was this murder, and it's a very famous murder. I think it's in Japan. It's kind of like that, sort of what you're saying. Like and they've still haven't solved this murder to this day. Like the person came and murdered this whole family, and then like shit in the toilets and left the shit in the toilets.
Sure.
And I'm like, you have DNA evidence. Like, but at the time, it happened. I don't think DNA.
Right.
Sort of was there. But
yeah.
Anyways.
And yeah.
That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. No, but he would just kind of. He would just kind of chill, just do whatever.
Yeah, do your thing.
And it was so gruesome too that these weren't like clean kills. Like he would continue to like stab, beat, mutilate bodies even after they were dead.
Yeah, he was. I remember that from the documentary. He was very brutal.
Brutal.
I keep using that word, but it's
brutal,
that's
gruesome.
What it was.
He, oftentimes, if there was like a couple, he would outright kill the man. Just point blank, shoot him, gone. And then sometimes rape, torture the woman.
Yes.
Sometimes he would kill them. Sometimes he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He was also known to sexually assault children, both boys and girls.
Oh my.
And I thought what was interesting is many of the women that he raped were typically older.
Yeah, I remember a lot of his victims were like above 50.
I think the youngest was like 45 or something.
Yeah.
But most of them were like 50, 60, 70, even into their 80s.
That's interesting that you'll sexually assault anybody, any gender, any age.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So the actual like first of what they come to known as the spree killings, as I said, he had that kind of June 1984 that they were able to connect him with. But then March 17th of 85 is when he kind of started this. I think it was like 170 days or 167. He killed so frequently in that span of days, the police had a very difficult time to adequately search each crime scene. Oops. Because he either would do one night and then one the next night, or he would do multiple in one night.
Oopsies.
The other thing that was interesting, and this came out of the Netflix documentary, is never left a fingerprint.
Nope.
Always wore gloves.
Nope. Yeah, they had a really hard time getting evidence in all of his stuff.
Right.
And there was something that happened, which I'm sure you'll talk about, of how they finally got his evidence of him. But yeah, it was like, it wasn't, no fingerprints.
It wasn't a fingerprint. It was a shoe print.
Yep.
So the biggest thing and the only way they were able to start connecting a lot of these crimes to him is that there was a very unique shoe print left at nearly every crime scene. And it was found even in places you wouldn't think. So of course it was in like the dirt and stuff around the house. But then he also left it on like an alarm clock he had stepped on.
What a dumbass.
Also on a victim's face.
Yes.
That he kicked in.
Yes.
They were able to get a shoe print. So this was like the major piece of evidence that they were able to be like, this is the same person. So part of what happened with that, people sometimes like to think they know what they're talking about.
Sure.
And sometimes we hurt when we help.
Sure.
The mayor at the time, Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, yes, but now she's a senator that is a little bit, disgraced or is getting disgraced.
Might have started back then because what she decided was she was an investigator.
Yes.
And so they were keeping the shoe print hush-hush.
Yes.
Because the police had eventually been able to track it. There was one shoe of this type. It was a very unique shoe print. It had just been started being manufactured.
Yes, yeah.
And only one pair was sold in the LA area of the size they were looking at. So they kept that hush-hush. Well, Dianne Feinstein, not a friend of the pod, she said, guess what, bitch? I'm going to have a press conference.
Yes, I'm going to have a full-blown
and I'm going to tell the tea.
Yeah.
And she did. And she told the tea.
Yep, she did.
And aired all of it.
Yep.
Aired all that out. And guess who threw away the shoes that he had been wearing?
Old Richie
Mr. Ramirez threw him right off the Golden Gate Bridge, said, bye, flop.
Yep.
Off those shoes went. Never found them.
Yep.
Never found those shoes. And on the same vein of that,
I hate to say, but that was very smart on his part.
He was and that was the thing.
Because I remember the documentary saying he was clearly watching like these press conferences and stuff because they would like you're saying, like they would say, these shoes, we're looking at these shoes, we're looking at this, and then he was, and so then he would kind of change up his stuff because of that. Yeah. Well,
and that's what I was just gonna say. The media was, I mean, I know, there's war on media these days, but
the MSM, the mainstream media,
they were being a little problematic back in this because they would find out these little tidbits that the investigators were trying to hide, and they would basically threaten the police and be like, well, we're gonna air this if you don't give us a interview. Like, this man is killing people left and right, and they were about to air all this so he would basically get away. So it's like, what are we doing? So the Satanism stuff came up later because he didn't really start leaving like pentagrams or anything until kind of a few murders in. He would either draw them like on the walls, or sometimes he would carve them into the victims. But later, most of the victims who survived would testify that like he would be like, don't scream, don't scream. And they'd be like, I swear to God, I'm not going to scream. And he'd be like, swear to Satan. And he would like make them swear to Satan.
Oh, I'd have been murdered because I would have laughed as soon as he
Right,
said that.
exactly.
I'd be like, what?
What? No, I'm not doing that. So I think it was present before. And when we talk about his childhood, we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So he was eventually captured on August 31st, 1985. Now, again, the first spree killing started March 17th. So over that time, over what? That's March to August, March. 5 months.
5 months, yeah.
5 months. I didn't actually look up how many people were murdered, but as far as what he was charged with, 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders.
Oh my, that's 8. We're gonna
11
18.
sexual assaults.
29 charges, got it.
And 14 burglaries.
43 charges.
So he had 43 charges, but some of those, some of it was overlap, but like in just 5 months, at least 18 people that he either murdered or tried to murder.
Well, and I'm sure there's probably...
And sexually assaulted and... Yeah.
I know they wanted to link him to other stuff too. Like in the documentary, they wondered if he was like there were some murders that happened.
Yes.
In that area, not close to where everything was.
Right.
Anyways.
Right.
Yes.
But what's funny about his capture is that it was actually a civilian arrest. He was running from the police. They'd finally gotten his name and they tracked him down, whatever, and he was running from the police, and he was in a Latino neighborhood, and they all recognized him, and they said,
"Oh yes,
no.
That's right. I remember the footage from the documentary. That's right. They tackled.
They got him. Yeah. Oh, they got him.
They were like, "You come to our neighborhood, we're not fucking.
We're not fucking around." Yeah, you came to find out.
Right.
Yeah. So it is worth noting that, like our other serial killer friends we've got on the pod, there were several times where he was nearly captured.
Yes.
Where he had been pulled over for traffic violations or other sort of minor things.
Wasn't he also like at one point during this whole thing like homeless or like
I think he was homeless most of the time.
I remember somebody saying like he was at like a bus station and he was like living there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. There was one in the documentary they talk about is he'd gotten pulled over for, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, he got pulled over for something.
And they were on the scanner. They had found out was using a stolen car, and it was the car he was in. And they said he drew a pentagram on the hood and then ran. And that was kind of a theme they had with him, is like he was evil. And they were basically saying
going
like,
around drawing pentagrams on stuff.
Well, not typically, not on a car.
If I go to your house the first time, you'll find something.
Surprise! There might be some somewhere.
Surprise.
He also, this was very interesting. Another time they almost caught him, they found out when they found one of his stolen cars, that one that he ran from, there was a card for a dentist that he had been going to. And they were like, okay, well, we know he's going to be back because he had fucked up teeth.
Right, that's right. They had to get some sort of like dental procedure done. Yes, I remember this.
So they were staking out for at least a couple days. Before then, there was a pissing match between jurisdiction because it wasn't in the right jurisdiction. So they installed like a panic button for the doctor, like the dentist, to press if he comes back. The day they installed that button, he came in.
Yeah. Sure.
And the doctor was pressing the button.
And nothing was happening.
And it broke. It broke.
That's not funny, but it is funny.
Because I remember I can't remember why, but the investigators called the doctor, or maybe the doctor called them and was like, where were you guys today? And he was like, what do you mean? And they were like, he came in, and I was pressing the button, and you guys never came.
And they were like, fuck.
And they're like, fuck. But again, it's kind of that, like...
I'm surprised I didn't try to get him to stay in the office for a second. I had somebody call 911. Like, why not, like...
I don't know.
Be like, hang on 1 second, your insurance is... Give me 1 second, the insurance is just not going through.
Well, probably back then, insurance probably wasn't as fucked up as it is today. So
no, probably not. But you could be like, hang on, I gotta get something from... I gotta get you some floss from the back.
Yeah. Special floss. Special floss from the back.
Special floss.
But it was one of those things that they kept kind of saying, like, because a lot of people thought he was like possessed by the devil, or he was like the devil's right hand man.
He does have kind of a look to him. If you Google him and look at pictures, he looks creepy. A little off.
Yeah.
I don't take that how you will, but he looks a little off.
Well, I mean, but that's again like doing this. I was fucked up. Like there was one night after I watched the documentary, like I was getting ready for bed, and there was...
You cannot watch that documentary before
there was a noise. I was like, well, he's here. Yeah, he's here. He's gonna kill me.
They almost do it like I actually think that's probably one of the best documentaries on Netflix because of the way that they do it. But it also is like you can't watch that before bed because they.
And I did.
Yeah, I watched it during the day one day. I watched
yeah.
it in an entire day.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
There was one day I ended up like working from home that day. So I was home all day. And that was the night I heard the noise. And I was like, well, he snuck in my house while I was,
it's time.
and now he's going to kill me. But I was like, Kyle, you've been home all day. How would he sneak into your house? I was like, well, he's the devil. So
we don't know.
But people did. And they thought, well, the devil, destroyed that button and the devil let him get away with all that. Like, they really thought that. So then as far as court, just briefly, we won't talk about this too much, but court sensationalized. Oh, people were hamming it up during his court case, including him. I mean, he was hot shit. He thought he was hot shit. He would come dressed up like in a suit. He would come with sunglasses on. Like, he was just cool. And even his lawyers were kind of like hamming it up too.
Oh my god.
And it became this whole like, there were some clips in the documentary where it was like, if their lawyer's not gonna act right, then I'll just take them outside and show them how it is. Like, fully putting their dicks on the table.
Sure.
Like, it was so awful.
Oh my god.
He also would draw pentagrams, of course, on his hand and flash it to the cameras and hi Satan, and would say like, hail Satan,
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. He had a ton of groupies.
Oh,
Tons of groupies. Women would send him letters and naughty pictures.
They always
do.
There's like, maybe we should try to research this.
We should.
I would love to know the psychology
What's
behind
the phenomenon?
these people. And I won't say it's women because it can be men if it's a woman too. Like, I'm sure, what's her name? Eileen Warnos and like some of the ones more recently.
It would
like,
be interesting to see.
Yeah, like, what is the psychology behind that anyways?
Well, so there was a lady from the documentary where she was talking about these, and she was just, I don't even know who she was. She was just some like witness or something. And she said, and I quote, and the best part of the documentary, I'm spoiling it for you, about these people. She said, I'm sorry, but I think they're the dumbest bitches ever.
Yeah, I do remember some
And you
of
know
that.
what my response to that was? Don't be sorry.
Amen.
Because they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
And he actually was in like a relationship with somebody, and then that kind of fizzled out. I don't quite remember why. And then when he died, there was somebody that he was dating at the time as well. So, also interesting, during the court case, a juror was murdered and had to be replaced.
Oh yeah.
And at first, people thought, again, Ramirez had done it or had the devil do it. Come to find out, it was just the juror's boyfriend who murdered her and then killed himself.
Big deal.
No big deal. As it
just the boyfriend.
As it happens. So as we talked about earlier, he was convicted 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries.
Oh my.
As you alluded to, there were some cases they did not follow through with, and those were the child molestation cases. There were several that, in these homes that he broke into, if there were children, a lot of times he would sexually assault them.
Yeah.
And so they decided, you know what, 43 charges is more than enough.
Yeah.
And back in that day, and I'm sure you know this too, that back in the day, in these kinds of cases, witness testimony, victim testimony was required for a conviction.
Terrible. Oh, that's bad.
So they decided these children did not need to go through that.
Sure.
And that's why they decided not to go through. So he was sentenced to death via the gas chamber.
Oh my. That's not one you hear very often.
No,
usually it's
back in the
injection or the chair.
However, in California, this triggered an automatic appeals process, which, believe it or not, is a very lengthy process.
No.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I know. And so, again, this was probably because I think even though they caught him in 85, I don't think they even started his court case until a couple years later.
Yeah, it wasn't right away.
I think it was like 87 or something. But this appeals process was so long that his conviction, though, continued to be upheld. He eventually died in 2013 from cancer. He had lymphoma. He got lymphoma and he died.
Satan.
Maybe it was Satan. But even when he died, he still had appeals left. He still had several appeals left. So that tells you anything.
A lot of states do that. Like if you get the death, it's an automatic.
Have to appeal.
Yeah, you have. I mean, it's which I understand, but that's how a lot of states.
But can you from like 88 to 2013? I mean, that's at least 20 some years.
25 years
that this was still going. So yeah, died of cancer, which I think is kind of like
an LOL.
Kind of an LOL, but like really, like you get to die of cancer when you like murdered and tortured all these people.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of not like the justice that you want to see.
Yeah. I know.
Well, no RIP for you.
No RIP for you. Just
RI.
H.
Rest in health.
Well, he might be. Who knows how he's treated there. Who knows?
We don't know.
We're not.
I'm not there yet, so.
Right. Well, maybe one day. Maybe.
One can hope.
One can hope. Well,
cursed.
On that note, let's take a little break because we're gonna get to his childhood, the psychology, and it's gonna get weird.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be right back. And welcome back.
Welcome back.
We got to get into it.
I have to stop looking at pictures of Richard Ramirez.
He's
he looks
scary.
Scary. He looks
scary.
He looks like a Night Stalker.
Yeah, well, he was. The Night Stalker.
We
are going to start with his childhood. We love a good childhood story.
Sure, because that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. And by magic, we mean abuse.
I was going to say fun, and then I was like, I know the abuse is coming, so I'm going to say magic. Sorry.
Yes. So, Richard Ramirez. So, he was physically abused by his alcoholic father.
Sure.
Who's, shocker there.
Yeah.
He began smoking the wacky weed.
I thought you were going to say crack.
Nope, not the crack. Didn't start there. No.
Sure.
Wacky weed and drinking alcohol at the age of 10.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. He did. Which I'm always like, I don't know where I could get weed now. As an adult.
Same. I will tell you, having met some people in the prison system, parents are usually the suppliers.
Well.
Which is frightening, but it's true.
I didn't see like where he got it. I assume it was, we'll talk about an older cousin here in a second. I think what is important to note is at the age of 10, very important for brain development, the age of 10.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because
sure.
At the age of 10 is where that sort of prefrontal cortex, your logical area, that's when it starts to develop. So if you start smoking the weed,
the doobies,
and you drinking the alcohol,
well, yeah, it kind of stops your brain right at that
kind of
point.
does some things. So, and I think you'll probably see how that affects him as we go on. So around this time too, he was very, very close to an older cousin who was named Mike, who, believe it or not, was also a serial killer and a rapist. While he was in the army during the Vietnam War.
Sure.
He would tell Richard about all of his war crimes, which were quite brutal, as one can imagine, and also show him Polaroids of the Vietnamese women he would rape, murder, dismember, and or decapitate.
Oh, that's cute.
Just
sharing.
bonding
Sharing
time.
is caring.
When they would interview Ramirez later, he would say he was fascinated rather than repulsed by all of these stories.
Ugh.
And I thought it was interesting that if you go back and look at some of his victims, many of them were Asian. Now, I don't know if they were Vietnamese. I didn't really look up the nationalities.
Oh.
But I thought that was very, very interesting and something that even in all my deep research, I never really saw a connection there. Because it wasn't very many, but he definitely had a lot more.
I remember there was a family, I think.
He had several. Yeah. I mean, at least 3 or 4 like families or people that were Asian. And we'll kind of talk about in his more psychology why that's kind of important. But Mike, good old Mike, also taught him some of the military skills, such as killing with stealth and how do you stay hidden in the dark.
Oh, okay.
So, just important
useful
things
life skills
for a 10-year-old boy. Ramirez also witnessed Mike fatally shooting his wife in the face during a domestic
Ooh.
dispute. And again, when Ramirez would talk about that, he said he found that fascinating rather than traumatic.
Okay.
So,
Great.
you know.
Thanks.
Just worth noting, Mr. Mike was not found guilty. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Sure.
Very hard to do, as we've famously talked about.
Very hard to do.
There.
So he must have actually been insane.
Because they said because of his PTSD from his service in the military.
I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was sent to a mental institution.
Well, he made it there. So.
Well, so Ramirez on his journey.
Yes.
After Mike went to prison, went to the mental institution, Richard then moved in with one of his sisters, whose husband was a peeping Tom.
Oh.
And would take little Richard around with him to peep on the girls.
What a thing to do.
What
with
a thing to
else.
do.
Oh my God.
What a fun time.
How old was he when that was going on?
It had to be around the same time. Probably 10, 12, 14.
Oh.
But then guess who joined them?
The sister?
No.
Oh.
Mike got out.
Got out or escaped?
He was released.
We're unclear.
But they said released. Mike was released and then said,
Wow.
let me join up with you because this sounds fun. Let me join you. So they all would just, the three amigos peeping on the girls.
As one does.
It was also around this time, this was around the age of 14. He started to, just dabble in the LSD. Just kind of try it out,
Yeah, just a little taste.
And we're not talking Latter-day Saints. Not Latter-day Saints.
This is not the Mormon.
We're talking like I don't even know what LSD stands for.
I'm sure it's.
What does it even stand for?
I don't know. I know I think it's a very long. I mean, it's like it's hallucinogen.
Lysergic acid dithalamide.
That sounds appropriate. I have no idea. I've never done LSD.
I haven't famously never done it. But he started 14.
Sure.
Again, at the age of 20.
Yikes on your brain at that young.
20 something. I would have no idea where to get some LSD at this time. Also was still drinking,
well,
as you do. This was also around the time he started researching more into like Satanism and the occult. So,
right. I mean,
again, like our friend Jay Dahmer, who was kind of like delusional with his Satanism.
Yeah.
Young Ramirez was researching. He was doing the research. So as he got into his teenage years, he began to have sexual fantasies that were very violent and graphic.
A red flag.
Sure. Oopsies.
We've talked about this.
Including forced bondage.
Oh.
And we here at Two Tired Therapists do support consent.
Yes, we do.
Just saying. Murder, manipulation, and rape. And as we have talked about famously on this pod, that mix of sex and violence.
Yes, we have talked about it a lot.
No.
Red flag.
Red flag. Very bad. Into his adolescence and even into kind of like ages of 20, he worked at a Holiday Inn. What you doing? Nothing, chilling at the Holiday Inn.
That's exactly what was playing in my brain at that moment when you said that. I was like, oh my God.
So you know what he would do at the Holiday Inn? Not chilling. Oh, not chilling. Peeping. He would use his master key to rob people who were sleeping. It was believed that he also molested 2 children while he was working there. And he was quickly fired after he was caught attempting to rape a woman in her room, caught by her husband, who was also sleeping next to her.
Wow.
And beat up quite severely.
No fucks given, I guess.
No fucks given, right. Had shit to do. And then at the age of 22 is when he decided to use a little cocaine.
Cocaine, yeah.
And that became his drug of choice. Loved the cocaine. And this is what led him to commit a lot of the burglaries so that he could fuel this addiction, so he could steal things. So, what are you hearing in his childhood? What are you hearing?
Well, we hear the word abuse.
We hear
lots of substance use, which stunts your little brain.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm sure his brain was probably forever stuck between the ages of 10 and 14 years old.
If that.
If he's lucky. Ugh. Yeah, there's just a lot.
There's
a lot. There's peeping, there's sex, there's violence, there's... It's a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me, dog. Yeah, I mean,
Jesus.
And so, well, let's get into his psychology. So let's kind of talk about that. So as you said, significant trauma.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
we know physical.
Sure.
We can assume emotional.
Yeah.
He was exposed to significant violence.
Yes.
At a young age. exposed to drugs and alcohol at a very young age and consistently. It was like from age 10 on. Like it wasn't like I'm smoking a doobie with my friends.
It's not like Dad, you're having a beer. Let me taste your beer.
Let me taste your beer.
Like, let me get a 12-pack and just shotgun this bitch.
Shotgun all of them at the same time. Probably.
Oh my God.
Right. And he was using them at important developmental milestones.
Right.
We said age of 10, 16, 18, 20.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I think, famously on this pod that your brain really isn't developed till you're like 25, 28. So like.
Yeah, you're just wrecking whatever you're trying to do in there.
Right.
Ugh.
Right. And I think whether you believe like marijuana should be legalized or not, like it contributed. The substance. He was 10. He was 10. Probably not great.
Money on Mike giving him that weed though.
That's yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Mike.
That really sounds like a made up name. When you said that, I was like, is that a made up?
Well,
name?
so he was Latino, and I think at this point it was like people were probably immigrating to California, and then were probably trying to become American.
Americanized.
Because he did have a couple other names. I didn't write them down. I'm so sorry. But he did have some more like Hispanic names, but went by Richard and Mike and all of that. Now, this was interesting, and this may give you a little callback to our friend Jeffrey Dahmer. As a child, said that he was knocked unconscious and almost died on multiple occasions before the age of 6.
So TBIs.
So and interestingly enough, he was diagnosed with a temporal lobe epilepsy.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Which increased his aggressivity and his hypersexuality.
Yeah.
Now,
do that for you.
Mama, I did some research on this temporal lobe epilepsy.
Okay.
So this is not the epilepsy you see in the movies. This is not I'm having seizures. Yeah. Your consciousness is not altered in this type of epilepsy. Your perceptions of the world around you change.
Yeah, because your temporal is... Isn't it hearing? No.
It can be.
It can't. Yeah, I was just saying.
I think it's all the things. It's all the senses.
No, it's not, because your occipital lobe is your eyes.
That's true. Well, but it said some people could experience hallucinations. They could experience all kinds of things.
Temporal, I think, is part of your hearing and your like you hear in language and how you push out language.
Right.
So yeah.
But
interesting.
Yeah, but some of the things I wish I would have. Oh wait, did I? No, I had it pulled up, but I must have gotten rid of it. But it was like all kinds of things. It was like you would hear things. Some like diagnoses of like psychosis were contributed to this diagnosis, and some of them were like religious delusions. So I'm not a doctor. We here at Two Tired Therapists are not medical professionals.
I'm not a medical professional.
I'm just saying. When they would interview him after he got caught, he enjoyed having power over others. And would speak about it with joy. Loved that.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't
love a good power trip?
Jackie, let's talk about diagnoses.
Oh,
are you ready?
Sure.
So, the only thing I could find from court is when they interviewed him, he was diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder. It's a flop for me. It's a flop for me. They believe this explained his indifference to the suffering of his victims. I would not.
No, that's not what that would be. Antisocial.
Thank you. Now, I didn't look into this. Maybe that wasn't a thing back then. I don't know when these diagnoses actually came out. So maybe that's all they had at the time.
Yeah. Who knows?
In interviews, they believed he was diagnosed with ADHD as a child. However, he was doing drugs.
How do you tell?
So how do you tell? If you're smoking doobies and drinking all day, not concentrating great.
Yeah.
Just going to say that. He also was diagnosed as a child with conduct disorder. Accurate. When he was being tested for court, he was given the good old psychopathy checklist, PCL, whatever.
Yeah.
His score, 31 out of 40.
That's high.
Pretty high. They would call him a narc, though. I don't know, again, at the time, if narcissistic personality was a thing.
He kind of was a little bit. I mean, you talked about when he showed up to court and stuff like that.
Yes,
I don't know.
And that's where that came from.
At that
exactly.
Time,
now, here's something fun that I found. So, as we've talked about, we have the DI, the
Sure.
Diagnostic
Statistical Manual of Disorders or whatever, yeah.
So back in the day, we're at the 5 TR,
Yes, we
which
are.
means
Text revision.
text revision. I don't
You're the
know.
practicing therapist.
I'm the
just
practicing
gonna
therapist. You're not. Let's talk about that. But back in the day, back when there was the DSM-4, we used these little things called axes.
Yes, we did.
You know about the axes?
Yes.
So I found, I don't know if this is legit. I don't think this is legit, but I did find some axes diagnosis for Mr. Ramirez.
Oh,
so I'd love
okay.
to read these to you.
So what? Okay.
So there were 5 axes,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Axis 1 was your diagnoses. Those were your psychological, depression, anxiety, blah,
yes.
blah, blah.
Yes.
Axis 2
Yes.
was your personality.
Yep.
And as you can imagine, it's quite lengthy for him.
Sure.
Axis 3 was your medical
Yes.
problems.
Yes.
Axis 4 was your psychosocial,
your social
emotional,
stuff,
and then Axis 5 was your
Your GAF
GAF,
Yeah.
what was it?
Global assessment of
global
functioning.
assessment function. So here's what supposedly
Oh, God.
Mr. Ramirez had as his DSM-4 diagnosis. So for Axis 1, we had a rule out of bipolar 1 disorder,
No.
cocaine dependence,
Sure.
as
Agree.
well as polysubstance abuse.
Agree.
So-
That was a lovely diagnosis that they took away in the DSM-5.
Yes.
And I wish they had never taken that away.
Right. Now you have
And
to
my
be
rant.
diagnosed with every
Yes,
single
it's
thing.
so
It's so
irritating.
stupid. Access 2. And this is a little treat for our next episode for all of you, but he was
Oh.
diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder.
That would be considered
DID.
access too? Really?
I
For that?
guess.
See, I was always trained that access 2 was literally only personality.
Well,
no
maybe at the
dissociative
time it
stuff, but-
was. I don't
And
know.
it might have been.
I
Yeah,
don't
you're
know.
right. Oh,
Uh-huh.
God, I hate that.
Yeah, I would say no. But DID was sexually sadistic and religious flight of ideas.
Okay. I mean, okay.
Not something you can be diagnosed with now, but
Yeah, sure.
Um,
okay.
sure. Antisocial personality disorder.
Check.
Bingo.
Please,
There it is.
yes.
With narcissistic features and a
Yes.
rule out of psychosis not otherwise specified.
Wrong.
Yeah, I would.
It's not psychosis.
It's not
I mean,
psychosis. The most you could probably say is like a substance abuse.
That's what I'm
substance
thinking.
use psychosis.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe like
Maybe.
substance-induced psychosis or like
Maybe.
I don't know.
And we'll talk about why that. Put a pin in that.
Sure.
Put that in the parking lot. Access 3. His medical. He did have Hep C
Oh, okay.
and intravenous drug use
From Hep C.
yeah.
Hep C. They're related.
Yeah. And then Access 4, they said familial discord.
No.
No, I know. Addiction, social isolation, and incarceration.
Sure.
sure.
I mean, that's all fine.
Access 5, just for funsies, what GAF score? The GAF score was from 0 to 100,
0
right?
to 100. So 100 is you're the
best
specimen
ever.
of a human.
Yeah, you do everything right.
Mental, physical, emotional.
0 is like you're dead.
0 is like you're dead. Like,
basically.
yeah, 20 is basically like you're in the hospital getting lifelined, essentially.
Right.
What
would you say?
Honestly, I'd probably give him like in the 60s or 70s because he's not like. I mean, you got to think about this in a relative term. Like, is he distressed by any of this? No.
No.
Like, and he's doing, okay. I'd probably do it in the mid 60s.
You're very kind, and it's
did somebody give
the
him like
first
a 25?
the first and last time maybe we'll experience this. I'm 33. He was given a 33.
That's like somebody who's like brain dead.
Look, I'm just telling you. I don't know. He was given a 33. Now again, I don't know. This was just something I found on Google, so who knows if it's real. But
Okay. That's not how I scored GAF scores when they did Access.
I mean, I came out in the day when those were done. We didn't do Access by the time.
See, that's what I learned in grad school.
Oh, did you?
Jesus, I'm aging myself. But the
well,
DSM-4,
it came out right after.
The DSM-4
probably.
TR came out while I was still in grad school.
Yeah.
And the 5 came out several years later. And the first place that I worked, the prisons. I mean, they did everything on the Access, so we still had to do even when the DSM-5 came out.
A lot of places still do.
Yeah, I mean, and it was really hard for me when I got out of the prison and went to community work because we did everything on the Access.
Right.
Like we talked about Access 1, Access
Right.
2. So
Right.
then when I came in and they were like, "Oh, we don't do it."
Well, and even in our treatment plans at the current place I may or may not work, there's still
They still make you
they
do
still
it.
have a gap. Well,
It's
it
insurance.
says you have to, but
You don't have to, but
I don't do
sometimes insurance requires you to do it.
So it's like it's stupid. So let's talk about why some of those diagnoses are a big no-no. He was considered I don't think this is a real diagnosis, but he was considered a thrill killer.
Yeah, that's not
So he does not really fit the stereotypical serial killer MO because he did not pre-plan any of these crimes.
No.
he never decided what to do.
It's like
He
a
just
crime of opportunity in a lot of ways.
He just kind of went in and he was like, okay, I'm robbing. Okay, I'm raping.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm killing.
Your window's open. Got it.
Got it. And this makes sense because his MO, his modus operandi, was all over the place, right? When we've talked about our other serial killers, they had a very specific type.
Right, right.
They had a very specific, like, age, gender, blah, 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 like all these things. And that's why initially they had a very hard time connecting a lot of these crimes to one person. Mm-hmm. And it's that type theory, and that most serial killers are living out some kind of fantasy and have a very specific victim profile. Mm-hmm. And typically this stays within a certain age range, gender, sex, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity. Yes. It's also very unusual for serial killers to kill outside of their own race.
Really?
That's what Google said. So it was interesting that Richard Ramirez was all over the place because he himself as Latino was killing white people, Latinos, Asian. Like he was literally all over the place. So that's where they say like he's kind of this just thrill killer. It's just kind of I just want to create chaos, violence, confusion. Chaos, confusion, madness.
Yes.
As Alyssa Edwards would say.
Yes.
And now I know what you're probably thinking. Where's his brain?
Yeah, what happened to his brain? Did that lady take it?
Lady didn't take it.
Oh.
Lady didn't take it. She, for some reason, didn't get it.
She didn't want it.
So his body was cremated because it went unclaimed for many moons. His family wanted nothing to do with him.
Well.
You know. And
that's not surprising.
The person he was dating at the time was MIA. After he died, they were gone.
I saw it was like a 20-something-year-old person he was like dating when he died. Yeah.
Sure. Like a writer or something. So there was no studying of the brain.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be really interested to see that.
Yeah.
Since with the early childhood, almost dying trauma plus the substance use. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bummer.
So bummer. So that's Richard. That's Richard Ramirez.
Old
Richard Ramirez. So there's a big, he's one of those cases that people really try to decide, that nature versus nurture idea, because they don't believe he was born a serial killer. They believe he was made into one by his experiences.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think a lot of it is nurture versus nature. I don't know. For him, definitely it was. There were just so many things happening in his childhood and teenagehood and like early adulthood that really just,
Right. Mm-mm. I mean, to be Mike, we got to give a shout out to Mike for really exposing him.
Right.
To all the
really
things.
Mike's fault.
It's really Mike's fault, probably. Yeah. I mean, the drugs probably didn't help.
No, the drugs certainly didn't help. But I'm sure, that's what I thought was Mike. I mean, like that. I mean, if Mike wasn't in his life, I mean, maybe the drugs and alcohol, but he probably would have ended up being, like maybe, someone who is addicted to alcohol and weed.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that he would have killed anybody.
He's not like killing people and like mutilating their bodies.
Right.
And again, he didn't just kill. He wasn't just like, oh, you're dead. Like, no, it was bad.
I remember the one and there was in the documentary. It was like this old lady. It was like a grandma. Mm-hmm. He like came in, killed her. She was dead, and then he like stomped on her head for like no reason. Mm-hmm. Like there was no reason for. She was already dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost went into some of the murders, but I was like, we can't
pretty
do
bad.
that.
Watch the documentary.
Watch the documentary. Look it up on your own time. Traumatize yourself. We will not be responsible for your trauma.
No, hard pass.
Hard pass on that one. So yeah. What do you think? Ramirez.
I remember
he's not a fun serial killer to talk about.
No, and I remember, and like I said, I watched this when it came out, which was like a couple of years ago. So like that's the only time I've watched it. It was a great documentary. He is kind of a scary person, though.
He's a scary person.
I never would have wanted to have like come across him in real life. No, thank you.
No.
Get out of here.
He was very scary. Yeah, and that's what people. And again, I think that's what even in the documentary, like the investigators were like. He was evil.
Didn't he like go to one of the investigators' houses, like, and the guy was like asleep on his recliner, and then he like heard stuff outside.
He thought it was.
And then he thought it, and I don't think it ended up actually being that. But,
no, I think he was just like paranoid.
But he was like, it was really, because they were really scared. I mean, the whole town and that whole area was really freaked out for a while.
But you know what's funny is people still would refuse their doors.
I know, and I'm like, what? I'm like, this guy is, you know, this is what's happening.
They had that in the documentary where one of the people they interviewed, she was trying to tell her grandparents like, hey, there's this person going around like just walking into people's houses like, please lock your door, and the grandparents were like, we're not gonna fucking do that. Like, I'm not gonna live somewhere where I feel in danger for my life. And I'm like, I'm so paranoid. I live on the second floor I get paranoid if my window's unlocked. 'Cause I'm like, well, someone's gonna get a ladder and they're gonna crawl up
Right.
and they're gonna break in and they're
That's
gonna
how
murder
I felt
me.
when I lived in an apartment on the 3rd floor. I was like, I can't leave my door. Like, I can't leave my screen door open. No.
No.
I don't think I've ever lived in a place where I didn't have everything locked at all times.
Exactly.
You never know.
And I live in like
live in a nice little
area like that, but I'm like, nope, no.
Nope, you never
Rich
know.
Ramirez, you're not getting in here. Not gonna kill me.
Stay out. Well,
it's a lot.
yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to process.
So I thought to help us de-stress, some of us, I have a really fun for you, not for some. Would you rather?
Sure.
And it is the Office edition.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you won't be playing.
So I won't be playing. I have no idea. I got these from BuzzFeed of all places. So I wrote them down specifically as BuzzFeed told them.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So if they don't make sense, it's not on me. So
sure.
For
if you're not an Office fan,
on the record, I would like to just let this be known that I am supporting your Office.
Even though at one episode,
schizophrenia that you have, the Office schizophrenia that you suffer from, and so many other of our viewers out there probably do love the Office. So this is for all of you to de-stress, kind of have a fun time after talking about the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker.
So would you rather the Office edition? So Jackie, would you rather participate in the Office Olympics or attend the Dundies?
Office Olympics or
attend the Dundies.
I think I would want to attend the Dundies, to be totally honest.
Great.
That's where things happen. I would like to get the Hottest in the Office award. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Would you rather find out who the Scranton Strangler is or have Michael still in the last few seasons?
Oh, this is hard. And I think my answer is have Michael in the last few seasons because I truly am not a fan of the seasons after he left.
Okay.
It's not like they're terrible. It's just a different vibe.
Different. Would you rather show up to Diwali in a cheerleader costume and have to stay the whole time, or drive Michael to break the news to Scott's Tots and have to stay the whole time?
Oh, I would 100% rather go to Diwali in a cheerleader costume. Oh my God, you have no context of any of these things.
No idea.
But I will just tell you, there's an episode where Michael promises to pay for college for kids, and he doesn't end up paying, and that's Scott's Tots. And then he has. Then they give him. They throw the ceremony for him because all these kids are graduating high school, and he didn't tell them at any point in the last 10 years that he couldn't pay for this. And then they do a whole presentation, and it's so awkward. I cannot watch that episode. I've watched it twice. It's so
I can't
awkward.
watch it, but I've watched it twice.
It's so and I've watched the show probably 100 times, but I cannot watch those episodes. Scott's Tots is very painful. It is oh my God, it's like, hey, Mr. Scott, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Make our dreams come true. And he goes up to the podium. He's like, well, I can't pay for any of your colleges. It's so awkward.
God.
Yeah, it's so awkward. So yes, I'd rather be in a cheerleader costume at Diwali.
Would you rather be in an endless engagement to Roy or an endless friend zone with Jim?
Endless friend zone with Jim. Roy's a flop for me.
Is he?
Yes.
Would you rather work at Athlete or the Michael Scott Paper Company?
Michael Scott Paper Company. They throw cheese balls at each other's faces. That's amazing.
What? Oh my God. This is the first and last time I'm ever supporting this, just so you know. Would you rather burn your foot on a George Foreman grill or have Dwight trap a bat on your head with a trash bag?
I think I'd rather get burned with the George Foreman grill, to be honest.
Are these things that happen?
Yes, these are all things that have happened in the show.
Would you rather sit with Kelly and Ryan in the annex or help Kevin clean up his spilled chili?
I'd rather clean up the spilled chili. Oh my God. Kelly and Ryan are I don't even know. Oh, no.
Would you rather stay a weekend at Dwight's bed and breakfast or tag along with Michael and Jan to Sandals, Jamaica?
Oh, I'd rather go to Sandals, Jamaica, I think. I cannot stay on a farm. That is the only reason why I'm not saying that. I cannot stay on a farm. The smell, no, we can't do that.
Would you rather go to Robert California's pool party or attend Michael and Jan's dinner party?
Oh, it's attend the dinner party.
Isn't Jan the older lady?
She's not older, but she's she's Michael's boss in the show. And then they throw this really awkward dinner party where they're like insulting each other passive aggressively the whole time. You would probably love this episode.
I wish I could get into it. People talk about how funny
it's
it is, but
so funny.
I gotta try.
Yeah, and it's just a very and then they kind of like keep everybody trapped there. It's really funny. That's the best episode of The Office, hands down. The dinner party episode. If you don't like The Office, you should
Everybody
watch
says
that.
the fire drill. That's the one I've heard. Is the best one.
Well, the cold open for that, yeah. The stress relief is also very good. Where like, yeah, it is very good.
And then the last one.
No.
Would you rather be in the room where Michael prank fires Pam or attend the meeting where Michael kisses Oscar?
Probably the one where Michael kisses Oscar.
Because we support the LGBTQIA community.
Well, yeah, so Michael finds out that Oscar is part of the LGBTQIA community, and this, you have to remember, the show took place in the early 2000s-ish time frame. So like, maybe like mid 2000s. So, I mean, it was accepted, but it like, I don't know, that the gay witch hunt episode where that happens is really funny. It's so funny. But when he kisses Oscar, it's hilarious. So.
I would like to point out that producer Justin has texted us his answers.
Oh. How similar are they?
And they are very similar.
Similar.
Most of them are the same, except
Yes.
maybe like two of them.
He wanted to go to the pool party.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the other one was on that one, but pool party and
the dinner party. Michael and
you
Jane's
would want
pool
to. No,
party.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
We'll
I don't care.
off
I don't
later.
care about the Scranton Strangler. I don't care about that. That's such a wasted storyline. But you should watch the Gay Witch Hunt episode. And
I do. Oh, that sounds great.
And then the dinner party episode. Those are very good.
Well,
there's so many good ones. But
so many good ones. But there
Thank
you
you for
go.
that. I appreciate
You're so
that.
welcome. Please know that I will
You'll never do that again.
never do it again, and we will never talk about The Office.
But yes, we can never
again.
speak of it again. Great.
So there you go. There you go.
Fun.
Hope you can all sleep tonight.
Yes.
And the Night Stalker doesn't come and kill you in your sleep.
Yep.
So on that note, stay tired.
And petty.